Hey everybody, Merry Christmas. Although most of you probably won't see this on Christmas, but I been staying away from doing recordings lately because I've been getting antsy. I want to share the book, but I'm still waiting, to hear back from somebody on it before I make it fully public. But I'm getting antsy about sharing it, so I've been trying to discipline myself to stay away from that. But and especially today of all days on Christmas, I didn't expect to be recording, but I had an extra epiphany this morning. You know, God gives us gifts at all times, at every time. You know, your very life is not a single gift, but a constant gift. And when you have those epiphanies, that's an extra gift. Um, and I finally let things sink home that I've been preaching about lately. Like I really let it sink in. Instead of just talking about it, start being about it. And that's been my transformation over the last 6 months or so. That's kind of why I've been doing this. That's part of my purpose. Is I'm a walking testimony of the transformation. That's why I had to start where I started and get us to here and see, there's more to come. I know it's hard to take me seriously with this hat on, isn't it? But no, being serious. Um, like I always, preach, accountability, right, is not a stick to beat yourself over the head with. It's to show you the things that you don't normally want to look at so you can change them, so you can do something about it. That's what that's about. I understand that's scary for a lot of people, but if you don't do it, you'll never find peace and you'll never be happy. You will never experience true joy. What was it? Carl Jung said, the greatest gift is to be who you are. And that's true. God made us in his image. You know, God is the creator, right? Our gift is we are creative. We're supposed to be different. We're all supposed to be bringing something different to the table. We're not supposed to be at war with each other over our differences. That's the thing. We're supposed to embrace it. We don't necessarily have to agree with it. We're not supposed to be, yes people and just automatically agree. That's enablement. You know, that's why you need to study the word, build your discernment, because discernment is the key to everything. Once you realize, once you get yourself to a level, see, the world tries to program us to make everything black and white. Things are either this or that. There's nothing in between. There's no nuance. There's no context. Everything is taken out of context. Right? Just like the Tower of Babel, right? Everybody got a little too high up there, thought they were building up, getting close to God. What happens? He smacks us down. We don't get to understand each other for, welcome to the modern day of that. We got a little too big for our britches. You know, that's the warning sign. That's, hey, pay attention. because we lost that ability to understand each other. Not through our language. It's all, you know, and it's true. It is an awesome gift to be who you authentically are. I've been sulking for months. You know, kind of putting myself down, kind of questioning things. And you guys have seen in real time, like even better than I did, because again, we are our own blind spot. You guys got to see it better than I did. I wasn't just talking about it, I was being about it, or trying to. And then it finally clicked home, own what you're part to own, and leave the rest where it belongs. Right? I mean, I always admit it. I mean, I'm human. I'm flawed. But I've spent a lot of time, like, deeply flawed. And that's because I was ignoring things that I shouldn't have been. And that is on me. However, there's a difference between, ironically, again, this is why discernment is important. You have to be able to understand the moments. Break them down individually. Life isn't meant to be copy and paste. Everybody's stuck regurgitating everything. Everybody's repeating everything. Everybody's trying to sound the same. Everybody's trying to be accepted. We lost the plot. There's general basic rules. That's why there's commandments. You got to follow. But you follow them, everything will be copacetic. And again, we lost the plot. We didn't like some of that. We tried to change what wasn't ours to change. Change the things that you can and accept the things that you can't. That's not just an AA mantra. That's not just for addicts. That's like Jesus. It's for everybody. Wisdom and strength. The wisdom to change the things that I can, and the strength to accept the things that I can't. Or I think I have that reversed, but that's how my mind operates. I have a big problem with acceptance. I'm starting to drift now. I'm like I said, pieces are clicking together, but just the whole point, because I like to babble and I want to keep this short because I want to get back on family stuff. Like I love Christmas. It's not about All the extra stuff is salad dressing. The lights, the tinsel, the music, the festiveness, you know, that's the byproduct, right? What it's supposed to be about is the coming together, everybody being united for a moment, you know? We need to have more of those moments. That needs to be something that we do year round, not just once a year. And optional at that. We lost the plot. That's where we lost it. Right at the beginning. That's why the Bible starts in the beginning. Once you get past those, first 4 words of the Bible, in the beginning, God, stop. That's not a period there, but you need to stop like there is. Once you accept those, the first 4 words, but if you can't accept those first 4, there's no point in taking it any further. However, the flip side of that is you have to, read through it to understand more what those first 4 words mean. That's the caveat. But people, again, lose the plot. They stop at the, okay, well, I can't make sense of these first 4 words, so I'm not going to take it any further. Like, no, that's not the point. Lean not on your own understanding. You can't just read it once and say, okay, I know it all. Like, no, that's not how it works. There are scholars that have been studying the Bible for 80 years and they still learn new things. Because that's how it's designed to work. Keep your mind moldable. Be correctable, be changeable. Don't cling to the wrong things. We are clinging to the wrong things and letting go of the right things. And everybody's miserable because of it. But nobody wants to take accountability for it to start making the change to fix it. I'm glad I get to be a part of that. That is definitely part of my purpose. And I'm trying to let him mold me into the example that I wish I could be. I finally found the right crowd. I talk all the time about your circle is your influences, right? I was clinging to the wrong people. I have people now that appreciate me for who I am as my authentic self, but will also correct me when they see me, they know I can do better. Those are the right people that you want to be around. Now, the ones who are overly critical because they're, mean just to be mean, that's because they're putting you down to try and bring themselves up. That's not how that works. That's why again, discernment. You need to understand the difference between the 2 scenarios. And the only way to build your discernment is to build your knowledge, your wisdom, your understanding. And the way to get that, faith is by hearing the Word of God. Get into the Bible, study it, really understand it. Again, that's a lifelong, continuous pursuit. Nobody has that finished. But that's the point. That's the message. Don't harden yourself to others. Be firm in, your stance. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything or anything. Take your pick. That's what we're supposed to be standing on. That commandment, that love for one another. Love is not blind tolerance. That's enablement. That's actually helping somebody to destroy themselves. That's not trying to save them. It all has to be voluntary. It all revolves around free will. It's a blessing and a curse. It's a great gift to have, but it's a harsh responsibility that too many people take lightly. We are responsible not just for ourselves, but how we treat others. Again, it's not about their character, it's about ours. But, again, that doesn't mean, they say love is blind. It is and it isn't. Because if you put the blinders on, you'll get yourself used and mistreated and cast your pearls before swine. You'll be laying down real wisdom, and because they don't want to hear it, because it's, they tune it out. Hey, that's your free will, but that's why that parable is there. Don't waste your time on those. All you got to do is keep building your character. Stay with the ones and just be that example. They will come around when they're ready. After they've had that personal conversion, but if they've hardened themselves, that's it. But that's their choice. Can't hold it against them. You just don't have to, have it around you either. Equally yoked is not just a romantic relationship. That's every relationship. It's not transactional, it's reciprocal. There's a difference. And again, that's where some people lose the plot. It's tit for tat. It's, hey, I've shown up for you 3 times, you need to show up for me 3 times. No, it's every time you needed me, I showed up. Every time I need you, you should show up. And again, there's different contracts, Again, in the romantic sense, that's what that is. Marriage, a lifelong bond, that's everything. That's the whole package. But in a friendship, it's but everybody you surround yourself with, again, be it friends, family, co-workers, partners, it's all different, level, discernment of that connection, all different contracts. But part of the sin is if you find them hard to love, then don't be around them. Not because it's a punishment to them, but because it's that spiritual surgery that if your eye is going to cause you to sin, you pluck it out. Get yourself away from that temptation. You know? That doesn't mean create an echo chamber. That doesn't mean disconnect from society. But that means stay with the right ones. The ones that make you the better you. The ones that bring out the best in you. You know, and not because they have something to gain from it, except for they get to see you in that at your potential. Again, that's part of the point where people lose the plot. They think, hey, by building you up, I'm giving something away. No. You know, people think tearing each other down is the way to go, and I don't know where that idea came from. I really don't. Well, I know, where it came from, but how they got everybody to buy it is beyond me. But anywho, this already, I've already went more time. I want to go get back to things. And I'll do a more detailed one later after I've had time to ruminate and put thoughts together. But that's the bottom line. Do everything out of love. And if it tempts you not to, then stay away from it. Not permanently, but until you can approach it properly. Again, that will probably not make a lick of sense to a lot of people unless you have that gift of discernment. There's some things that was one of my, they say my toxic trait is I expect me out of other people. I have that level of understanding. And again, that's not a brag. It's not. But it's just confirmation of people can only meet you to the level that they've met themselves. That doesn't make anybody higher than anybody in the sense of they're more important or more valuable or any of that. It only makes them higher in the sense that they're a little closer. That's it. That's all it means. I run the race. That's the race. It's not because there's only one winner though. Everybody's trying to trip each other up, thinking there can only be one winner. No, the race that's the goal, to get yourself up there as far as you can, to get as close as you can, to build that personal relationship, to have that understanding. That's the race. And your only competition is yourself, not other people. Let that one simmer for a bit. Y'all have a Merry Christmas. As usual, take care of yourselves. Try and help take care of each other where you can. See you in the next one.